Was it too quick?
I made it.
Okay.
Welcome.
Hi.
Apparently this is the Fortnite episode. Oh man, I
Like
forgot
Fortnite.
something.
What'd you forget?
I forgot to do something with my camera.
I
gotta fix it. Oh, that's the wrong way. Poop.
We'll get there.
Yeah, we're gonna get there, guys. Hey, thanks for joining us on this late edition of Don't Worry Wednesday.
That's right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for being here. This was totally my doing. I had to be late today because my boys had a choir concert tonight, so I got to hear them sing. That was pretty cool.
That's great.
Red Joe or Normal Joe? I don't know. What do you think? Should we go to the Red
Joe? What's Red Joe like?
Red Joe. Let's see.
Is red the color of anger?
Joe could be like this.
Whoa.
Yeah, that would be weird. Let's see.
Wow.
Close up.
It's like a totally different. It's like an orc.
Yeah.
Or something. A red orc.
It's kind of creepy, actually. All right.
Yeah.
Well, let's fix that.
Wow, that was wild. No, thank you. I think a regular Joe is my favorite.
All right, cool.
Regular color Joe is the way I like it. I think, there was a time where there could have been a Blue Man Joe, but he wasn't the right height.
That's right. I wasn't tall enough.
Mm-hmm.
I was not tall enough. I was like, ooh, I could join Blue Man Group because I'm a drummer and I took a bunch of dance and stuff too, and it was like this could be a lot of fun. But nope, I was too short.
Nope.
You have to be between 5'11" and 6'1" in that 2-inch, window.
And you were
5'7".
7, yeah.
Yep. It's far too short.
Oh wow,
for the
4 inches off. Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that's okay.
Yeah.
I found other stuff to do. It was cool. So, and now here we are. We're on Don't Worry Wednesday. Welcome, guys, to Don't Worry Wednesday, the show we do on Wednesdays. I know, it's so much better.
I think that Don't Worry Wednesday is even better than Blue Man Group. Maybe not necessarily as entertaining, but at least more, controversial. And, that's about it. No.
Yeah. I also forgot to set up the topics page. Hopefully that's going to be okay.
It'd probably be fine.
Yeah, it's good. It's good enough.
Okay.
It's perfect.
By the way, hello, Whitest Rabbit, and Myanglios and Cats, and Zay, if you're still here, and Twashu. Mm-hmm. And Joe, I see you in the chat.
You see me in the chat? I'm in the chat.
Yeah, I saw you in the chat earlier.
Yeah, I'm doing the dabs right now in the thing. That's important.
Good stuff.
Make sure
that is important.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is important. If you miss that, then nothing will be set up correctly for you for the rest of your life.
Yes, exactly.
Until you dab, and then everything will be fine.
Everything will be fine once I die. Right?
Uh-huh. Once
is that what
you
you're
die?
Is that what you're trying to say?
No, I
like the world is just waiting for Joe to die.
Did not mean to go there. I don't think that's where I was going at all.
Mm-hmm.
But okay.
Yes. All right. Well, hey, everybody, welcome to Don't Worry Wednesday. I've said that like 3 or 4 times now. It's great.
Yeah.
This is a show we do where it's all about you guys and your topics and stuff that is going on in your lives. We are not professional therapists or counselors or anything like that. We just want to help, and we want to do whatever we can to, talk through whatever might be going on in your lives. So if you have a topic, you can go to don'tworrywednesday.com, click the submit a topic button, and fill out the little dealio, and we'd be happy to do your topic. Or we also take topics in the chat. Did we?
Mm-hmm.
Heck yeah, man.
Thank you.
Twashu, it's not that we have 0 topics, it's just that we have very few, and I mean, one's about Skibbity Toilet. We can talk about
Yep.
Skibidi.
One is about
One,
Christmas, and the other I don't even know. It's sent. One of them sent from me, and one of them sent from Joe, but
yeah.
neither of us sent them. So
I
that
don't
means
remember
it was.
doing that.
Yeah, that means it was actually Yozua.
I can talk about Skibidi Toilet though. It's in Fortnite now.
Great.
Skibidi Toilet from Fortnite. And it's funny. I just every once in a while I like to wear the Skibidi Toilet on my back, so that way when
It's on your back. It's
yeah,
on your head.
when somebody when I shoot somebody, then and then it then when you get killed in Fortnite, you automatically go to the person you're watching, the person who killed you,
Mm-hmm.
And so I just, if somebody dies from me, I want them to see the Skibidi.
Got it. That makes sense.
Like, haha, look at Skibidi Toilet. Should we all be playing Fortnite? I mean, I don't know if you want. It's fun. Is it the greatest game of our generation?
Wow. That's probably that's too opinionated, I think.
That's a very subjective
So when Fortnite was all the rage back in like 2000 and I don't know, 2020, 2019, Jesse and I were streaming a lot, and we had a saying. It was Fortnite. That was our whole saying, and it was
Fortnite.
What Fortnite, and we'd say it whenever something was bad.
Oh,
so it was like, oh wow, like if we were playing Dungeons and Dragons or anything, right? Something happens. It was like, oh man, that was awful. Fortnite.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was like, whatever. We just refer to Fortnite. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but we got you to play Fortnite.
Yeah, I played it.
This is like me and my kids got you to play it. We were so impressed with ourselves. We were just like, oh my gosh, we're going to get Ryan to play.
I did play it.
Yeah.
I played it for I played 2 rounds or 3 rounds.
Yeah. And you were like, oh, it's not as bad as you expected it to be.
Yeah, it wasn't that bad.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of fun.
It wasn't that bad.
You got to do you see, you got to do it for the kids, man.
That's right. You got to do it for the kids. That's right. That's why I did it. Yeah.
That's why I ended up playing Dead by Daylight, even though I'm really awful at it. And it's really frustrating.
See, that's a game I wouldn't do it for the kids. I would just be like, nah, sorry. Not doing that one.
Kids, why are you playing this? This is rated.
Yeah, that's what I would say. Well, hey, first of all,
my oldest kid is into horror stuff, right? So it's like,
yeah, that makes. It's like, first of all, not appropriate. Second of all, why don't you do something fun instead? That's what I'd have to say.
Like what?
I don't know, like a different game.
You know what's funny? Actually, the community that's involved in Dead by Daylight are some of the nicest and most wonderful people. They really are. Yeah. Even though
so they must be.
The game is murderous, like violent.
Are they metalhead?
Maybe. I don't know.
That's probably why.
There've been
probably metalheads.
They could be. I've the community and then the people who run the game, like the staff and everything, they're so nice. Like they're the nicest customer service from any game I've ever played, actually.
Wow.
They were caring, they were prompt in their responses, they were really, really helpful. Like everything, it was really, really cool.
Wow.
You don't like the developer? Okay.
The community doesn't like the developer?
Or the community did not like
Joe had a good experience with them.
Well, that might not have been the developer. It might have just been like their customer service department or whatever. But either way,
that's true.
They were
really
really cool. So anyway, apparently this is like the gaming edition of Don't Worry Wednesday.
Wow,
talk games.
I'll give my hot takes and everything that's like, that movie. That I'll just say every game is terrible.
Which game?
Every game.
Every game is terrible?
Yeah.
Every game is horrible.
Mm-hmm. That's why I'm a game developer now.
But
all the other games
like
stink.
Gaming?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're great. There's plenty of great games out there.
There are. Like Minecraft.
Well, maybe like the original Minecraft, not like the original. I'm like maybe like just Minesweeper, because not Minecraft, but Minesweeper. Yeah, Minesweeper's a great game.
Minesweeper.
Mm-hmm.
That game
Yeah, the
is
original
honestly
Mine
the most frustrating game I've ever played, I think.
game. You know what? I was never into it, but I remember watching my brother play it a lot, and I was like, I'll try. And then I
I bet he was good
played
at
a
it.
lot. Yeah, he was good at it.
I bet.
I eventually
He's
got
got that
okay
kind
at
of
it.
he's got that kind of a brain
Yeah.
to be good at Minesweeper.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? I don't understand it either. Like, I'm with you, the whitest rabbit. You know, I just am like, what do I got to do? Like, I box and then I explode, right? Like, that's it.
Mm-hmm. That's right. I get it, but I
You
don't.
get it, but you don't.
I mean, I could explain it, but it's actually not complicated at all. It's really simple, but it's still like, takes some thought. It's not a game you can play quick unless you're really good at it.
Now, Tomato, I'm going to argue with you. You got to sweep. I'm actually good at sweeping.
Oh yeah?
I'm not good at Minesweeper.
Oh.
But I sweep a lot.
You're
Because
good at
I work
sweeping
in
and you're
a
good at
wood
mining.
shop and there's like sawdust everywhere, and so I sweep the floor all the time. Actually, I don't sweep it often enough. Just ask your brother. But yeah,
Fair enough. You can't ever sweep it enough
you
though,
can't.
because it's a wood shop
It's everywhere.
with sawdust
always.
everywhere. Yeah.
Never sweeps. I don't sweep up the mines. I would explode, and I'd be like, I wouldn't be here if I swept the mine.
Mm.
Anyway, so all right, you guys are awesome. I did the legal disclaimer. Yeah, and yep, I did all that.
Okay, cool.
Sorry, my brain
we
is going in 500 different directions. I was in such a hurry to get back and everything, and I'm all like jacked up.
And now you're here.
And I haven't eaten since this morning, and yeah, this is gonna be
How
an
many coffees
interesting
did you have?
show. How many coffees did I have? 4 or 5?
4 or 5?
Doubles?
Yeah. So wait, 4 or 5
But that's
doubles.
all day. That's not just like right before I got here, but like this is
I
throughout
know,
the
but
day,
that's
right?
that's a lot of coffee in one day. Oh my goodness. It's
Really?
fine. I'm not critiquing it or saying it's bad, dude. I'm just like, whoa. So here's why I think it's a lot. It takes me like a full day to drink 2 cups if I was to do like if I was doing the two doubles,
Mhm.
right? So 2 double cups. That would take me all day long to drink that.
Mhm.
It just I'm a slow drinker and I don't drink that much. So you have 4 or 5 and it's not even the end of the day yet. That's incredible.
Well, we drink a whole pot throughout the day.
Wow.
When we're working, right? And so then, and so I just drink coffee. It's good. And actually, too far away. Never mind. I was going to show you like the new coffee that I actually like a lot right now, but you probably wouldn't
I'd
like
love
it
to see
because it's ground.
No, it's fine.
already.
Is it dark or is it medium or light?
It's an espresso roast, they call
Okay.
it. So it's like
Right.
and it's from like Fire Department Coffee or whatever that brand.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that one.
Yeah, it's the one that's got like a teal octopus on the bag.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
It's very,
seen that.
very, very good. Very good. I
Yeah.
highly recommend it, and we are not sponsored by this coffee company. I'm just telling you what I like.
Yeah, fair enough. Most of the time, all of the pre-ground packaged espressos blends are almost exclusively dark roast. Sometimes you'll find mediums, but I've never seen a light roast espresso.
Mm-hmm.
But I like to make espressos out of light roast because that's, for me and my wife, we like that the best.
Yeah. No,
Yeah, but
dark roast stuff kind of can be painful at times.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
the
It's well, and
Colombian
it's
and, you know,
hmm
the really dark
yeah.
roast. But
Well, it's dark. It's dark because it's burnt. Legitimately,
I mean,
it's
you're not.
actually true.
It's been extra roasted, right? So that's why it's dark,
Yes,
right?
that's right. That's what they say. Hmm
Yep.
Yeah.
But cool. Well, hey, we got a new topic. And
Great.
so yeah,
Let's
so if
do
you
it.
guys have topics, go to don'tworrywednesday.com, or you can just pop it right down here in the chat.
Hmm
And I don't know. Twasha, you said you have a topic too? And I know I think it's really, really late where you are. So,
If we could do that first, that'd be great.
yeah, if we could do your topic first, you can send it in the
Did you
chat, you can
submit
send it
one
in
top?
Discord. The one that we got was anonymous. You got up at 9 p.m.
9
Yes.
p.m. Wow, relate.
Yes.
That's great.
I can totally relate to that. Yep. It's like backwards sleep schedule, right? It's like the
It was like morning
opposite
for
of
you.
normal.
Mm-hmm.
It's the Joe sleep schedule. Well, I think you sleep longer than I do.
Mm.
Fortnite.
So I can play Fortnite. Oh, it's the Joe one because it's oriented towards Joe and the time thing rather than
I feel so bad because we like to play games. We'll play Fortnite, but like I work like until 2 a.m. And so then, and
Mhm.
lately I've been working at your house, which is like an hour and a half away. And so like last night I left your house at 2 a.m.
Yeah. Wow. And so you got home at 5,
Got home at like
basically.
3:30, and then
Okay.
nobody was
Nice.
up. So I just ate some food and went to bed. But
Mhm.
yeah, it's funny. Like, yeah. But anyway, all right. So Twashi, did you send us a topic, or did you want us to do?
Yeah, we have a topic in here that doesn't have a name attached to it, so
What am I working on at your place? We are working on your trim, your baseboard, your door and window casings, and your crown molding, and your registers, and your countertop. Register. That was registers?
yeah.
Like the registers where your heat comes out of the wall?
Yeah, well,
That's this?
yeah.
We're making your house look really pretty, actually.
Two reasons it's register. This is register because if you're an accountant and you're registering something, you're probably typing on a keyboard. It's also, if you have a bunch of strips of paper in front of the register, it'll blow like that.
Okay. Gotcha.
There you go.
Yes, the hole covers. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And they're custom.
Wow.
They're custom made wood, like high, like
wow.
You guys are getting some high-end quality stuff in your house.
Wow.
Custom
Thank you.
built, custom handcrafted, hand sanded. Mm-hmm. What do they look like? They look kind of regular. One of them's got my blood all over it.
That's awesome.
So every time your heat comes on, you can think, "Oh my gosh, Joe's microorganisms from Joe's blood."
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm like, why does it smell like iron? Like, oh yeah, Joe's blood.
You won't be able to see it. It's on the inside, and it's been primed. It's being painted.
Wow. So it's sealed in.
So it's a permanent part of your house. My blood is in your house.
Wow. Dang.
Yeah.
That's wicked.
Yeah.
Okay.
What do they look
like?
I will send pictures. And
yeah,
and you can see.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
because actually
the holes that we have in our floor because of those missing is kind of ugly.
Right. Well, and there's like metal and it's sharp. You want to cover that up, like seriously, man. All your little animal friends that you let live in your house, you can't let them get hurt.
I know.
On the thing,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Have you guys seen any rats there?
No.
Or mice?
Nope.
Okay, cool.
Nope. And we've even set traps all over the place, and there's no, like, they're always empty.
Good. They're behaving.
So,
Good.
yes, they're behaving.
When we were there, we had mice that would come into the house every time it rained.
Uh-huh.
Almost. So whenever it rained, we would just like wake up in the morning and then find mice in our live traps, and then we'd like go out 2 miles or whatever it was and release them into the forest and then come back home.
Mm-hmm.
And it happened to us like every other week.
Yeah.
Or something.
That sounds
maybe
right.
every week. I don't know. Yeah. It was great.
Yes.
Hey, Saule. Yeah, no problem.
What's going on, Saule? Good
Thank
to see you, buddy.
Thank you. Yeah, we do need those topics, so appreciate that.
Yep. Send us some topics. We like the topics.
So, Twashu, which was your topic? Do we have one?
I think Twashu said they're sending it. Maybe?
Oh. Oh, they didn't send it yet. Okay, got it.
And now...
Got it.
Weird. Now my Microsoft Teams is deciding to act silly. A little too silly.
Oh. A little too silly.
A little too silly. Let's see.
Yeah, they come up from the floor. Yeah. They're cute. The little mice. They're pretty cute.
They're cute. They have rabies. They get germs all over
Ours didn't have rabies, I don't think. I don't know. They weren't foaming at the mouth or anything. Don't you have to be foaming at the mouth to have rabies?
No.
Is that how that works?
No.
Can you have rabies and not be foaming at the mouth?
Yes.
I don't know.
Yes, like
Yeah.
I mean, like they get rabies. Mice, like most wild animals can.
Yeah, most
carry
animals get rabies.
You know, raccoons,
Mhm.
possums, bats. There was one time
Humans.
my brother was working up at this like cabin campground place, and and this was in Michigan, and they got a bat infestation in the cabin that they were all staying in, so everybody had to get rabies shots, just in case.
Oh, wow.
Just in case, just because, yeah.
So what I've heard of is if you ever find a bat on the ground, stay clear of it, because those are the ones that have rabies. Because they're not doing well, they're ill, and they can't like handle things, and they will bite you, or they won't. It's not that they will bite you, but they have a higher chance of biting you if you try to go pick them up. And so if you find a bat on the ground, you don't try to pick it up with your hands, at least, because it's probably infected with rabies.
Yeah, I mean, I would not want to try and pick up a bat with my bare hands anyway. I remember trying to get bats out of houses. It's quite an adventure. It's really kind of scary.
Yeah. Yeah, because they dive bomb you.
They do, and they're just these tiny. They're like little mice with wings, right? They're like flying mice.
I like them.
They are
like
cool,
'em.
but man, they're unpredictable and they're fast.
Yeah. They are. They're fast. Yeah.
And so you're trying to get them out of the house. It's like trying to catch them.
Yeah. Oh, well, both of you are panicking. You and the bat. They can't find any place to be, and you can't find a way to get it. Yeah.
Yeah. Bats are cute. They are pretty cute, but I don't like them in my house.
Yeah, fair enough.
I like them outside eating the bugs. Really? You had you'd pick up the bats with your hand? You're like the bat whisperer.
It'd be pretty calm. That's good.
Huh. They're so tiny.
Yeah, they're so tiny and cute. I had to pet. Yeah, cute. That's great. Yeah. Well, tiny flying dogs. Kind of. Some of them look like foxes and dogs. Some of them look like rats or mice. Some of them look like pigs. So they've got quite the variety characteristics.
Yep. Yep. But yes, they can
Snoot.
carry rabies, so just be careful.
Yeah. Oh,
Get
hey,
bit.
we got a topic.
We got a topic?
We got another one.
Look at us go.
This one's an interesting one. Never heard of a topic like this before. This must be urgent.
It must be urgent.
Yeah. They didn't mark urgent, I don't think, but they could have.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay, there we go. We're good. I got it for you. Yeah. You can it's processed.
Nice. Nice. Twashu, are you Beanser? Because that's who sent this one.
Boop the snoot.
Boop the bat snoot.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'd do that. It'd be freaky.
Nah, mate.
All right.
All right. Well, do you want to do either of these two topics or three topics that we have?
Well, yeah, let's start with this one we just got.
Okay.
The how do I fix a spring one?
Okay.
Because that should be pretty quick. We can do this one.
Yeah.
Pretty quick.
This is great.
So I think, is that the whole topic? How do I fix a spring?
You've read it.
How do I fix
You
a
can
spring?
show it on screen if you want.
I'll just put it in the thing.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. How do I fix a spring?
From
Wait, what? From
Beanser.
Beanser. Yes. That's okay, Twashu. We'll get it. We'll do this one real quick, and then we'll do yours.
Oddly specific, right?
So
Indeed.
I mean, I guess the question would be, I could ask that, how do you fix a spring? I can tell you how I fix a spring, but how do you fix? And I guess what kind of spring are we talking about? Like a spring of water, or like a spring that's like a springy spring, you know?
See, when I first read it, my brain jumbled the words and I thought it was spring, like the season. And I was like, no, that doesn't make sense.
How do you
can't
fix a spring?
Season.
You cannot fix spring. It's just muddy and garbage.
Yeah. Well, especially if there's snow
like
for
poop.
it. Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know about that part, but yeah.
Those around here, we got farms all over the place, and so just they all thaw out, and then it just smells like poop.
Yeah, right. All at once. So all of the dumps that were taken over the winter all of a sudden have a smell.
They're all thawed out. Yeah, it's
great.
Wonderful. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And maybe they fertilize their fields too, like so they spread it all.
Oh, probably.
Spreading.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. But I mean, I guess the way that I always fixed the spring was just to kind of, like if you got a spring and it's all kind of bent out of shape or whatever, you just really carefully bend it and kind of twist it and get it back into the shape that it was. Then you can stretch it out and make it like more springy, or you can compress it down and make it less springy. So like there's all kinds of different
what happens? How do you fix a spring? This is my question. How do you fix a spring that's just been stretched too much and you want it to compress it back down? Every time you try to compress it, it just opens back up. How do you fix it so that it will be more compressed?
You have to...
This isn't my question, by the way. I'm just interested because I've wondered this for a long time.
Well, you kind of have... What I've always done... I mean, you can apply heat. That would work.
Maybe.
But you wouldn't be able to hold on to it. You'd have to like hold on to it with really thick gloves and... Or like some pliers or something.
Yeah, pliers or something.
Yeah, because in order for the heat to have an effect, it'd have to be really, really hot, and then it'll burn you. So, but yeah, I think applying heat also might weaken it. Unless well, I guess it depends on what it's made of too.
Yeah, it could make it more brittle if you apply heat.
Yep. It could make it more brittle, or if you heat it and then quench it really fast, it might make it harder. Like put it in water.
But that would definitely make it brittle.
But anytime I've ever done like had to try and fix a spring, it's always been kind of a combination. Like if it's too stretched out, you can't just press it together and have it stay there, right? Because
Right.
yeah, it'll just go back out. So you almost have to you have to twist and work with the
Oh,
shape of
rewind.
the spring, and so you're kind of like
Okay.
winding it while you're pressing it together, and then that
Okay.
can then put it back into
That makes
place.
a lot of sense.
But this obviously, these are little tiny springs that because I was doing instrument repair, and like guitars have
Mm-hmm.
springs for their pickups and all that kind of stuff. So it's like, I don't know. A lot of times, if I
Yeah.
have to fix a spring, I would rather just replace it. That's the best way to
Mm,
fix a spring.
fair
Is
enough.
throw that one away and get a new one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, to imagine a lot of the springs that you're working with are very small and they're tightly wound.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I had no idea how to answer this question, so I'm glad that we had a spring mechanic here.
Spring mechanic. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I actually had to do a fair amount of spring adjustment with like any kind of brass instrument where there are valves.
Yeah.
So like your
Mm-hmm.
trumpets, your baritones, your all that kind of stuff. Like, and French horns have a different kind of spring, but anything that has a key on it has some kind of a spring. And
Yeah.
so you'd get them, and like one valve would feel like a lot looser, or whatever. It wouldn't go down as
Mm-hmm.
quick and didn't have as good of action. And so you'd have to like play with them and be, okay, these are close, da 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 da.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then
Yeah.
so you'd have to like stretch them to make it more to make
Buoyant.
it spring back faster, or try and compress it to make it not be quite so much. But if you're going to compress it, then you have to twist while you compress.
I see. I see. That makes sense.
Yeah. That was a
Yeah.
that was a unique question.
Yeah.
Beans are hopefully
I was
that answers things for you.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then boop it.
Yeah, of course.
Boop the
Like always.
spring always.
Just like you do at those like the door stoppers.
Yeah. Brrr, that thing.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That instrument.
Yes. Yes. Cool.
Beautiful.
All right. So sweet. So
Okay.
we did that one.
Great.
Thanks, Beanser.
Mm-hmm. That was an interesting one. I never expected one like that. That was pretty good.
Yeah.
I learned something.
Yeah. Well, I learned too because I had to think through critically. How would you do this?
Mm.
I learned that I remembered how to do that from way back in the day.
If you remember something, are you relearning it? I think so. I think that counts.
Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I think so.
So yeah. Well. So anyway, that's that. Um. See how are we doing, Twashu? Are you sending it to don'tworrywednesday.com, or are you sending it to like you can send it to Discord or wherever?
Yeah. Might take a while. Oh, I submitted it. Okay. Submitted it.
I do not see
Oh,
it.
it's not in here yet. Well,
Weird.
uh,
Did you say you were a human?
huh. Well, that is the tricky part. Huh.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's
it's still not
okay.
in here.
It's okay. I mean, if it's not too. Did you try
Turning
turning
it
it
off and
off
on
and
again.
on again?
Plug and unplug.
All right. Weird. Yeah, I'm not seeing it in our topics here.
Yeah.
Dang it. Well, if it's
Hmm.
if it's a fairly quick one, you can just put it in the chat. Um,
Hmm.
we do have some other topics,
Yeah.
but I had said, for Twashu, because I know that, they're over and
It's late,
it's
but
late. We'd like to do it if
you could if you still have it, copy paste it or something. Could send it to Joe
Yep.
through DM.
It's really not late.
You
We
have
can
his
do
number.
another. All right. Well, we'll do another one first then.
All right.
All right. Cool. So how about we do this one from Anonymous?
Okay.
Is this also looks like a
It's a short. Doesn't mean it'll
short
be
topic.
covered quickly. Short topic, but doesn't mean it'll be covered quickly.
Yeah. And also this one I will just put up in our current topic box rather than switch over to the screen.
Yeah, fair enough.
That'll just be faster and better. So
Yes.
this is from Anonymous, and it's all the topic is, how can I balance my life better? How can I balance my life better? Which, I
Are you
mean,
gonna read the title?
the title is How Can I Balance My Life Better?
Thank you. And what's the summary of the topic?
The summary is in the current topic box.
Oh,
Can you
how
read
can I
that?
balance my life better?
Good.
That's great.
Good job.
Cool. Too bad it wasn't from How Can I Balance My Life Better?
I know, that would have
I
been
could have
great.
kept going with it one more time.
We totally could have.
All right.
How do I balance my life better? This is a very interesting question. We could go on for a while about this, but there are all kinds of ways to do different things. It kind of depends on what's out of balance. And Neonsai says this is very important. Why do you need a balance? Some things are more important than others. It's only natural that there is an unbalance, and that's absolutely true. Like sometimes we kind of, I think we kind of crave this balance, maybe because we're looking for some kind of inner peace. But inner peace doesn't necessarily come from having a balanced life. And
Right.
there are a lot of things that you just can't balance. I think a good way to approach this topic as you're asking yourself this, as far as how do I balance things, is probably what are my priorities? Hey, Savage, welcome.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's true. Neonsai says what you might need is just a break. So learn how to take one. What relaxes you? That's very good advice. But as far as balance, I guess the thing I would ask is what's out of balance? What do you feel is out of balance to the point where it's causing a challenge or a struggle for you? But I would ask, rather than how to balance. Yes, for sure, take breaks, especially me. I ain't got no time for breaks, man.
My brain auto-filled breaks to breakfast. Breakfast?
Oh.
I was like, yes, have a balanced breakfast.
And
you'll have a brown. No, that is not how that works.
Yeah. Sorry, my brain just ADHD moment. Neonsei says, think what is out of balance and what actions can I take to restore balance? And that's really going to depend on where you're at in your life at any given moment, right? So like what is it that's out of balance? Is your sleep schedule out of balance? Mine is. It's all whacked out. Crazy. And probably I work too much. That's pretty likely that I have a really, really heavy work side of the scale in my unbalanced life. And then it's trying to balance all those different areas, your professional life, your personal life, your family, your friends. What is it that you're doing? And then also a good question to ask is, what is it that you're trying to accomplish? So what is this balance trying to accomplish for you? And or do you have some kind of a goal that you're shooting toward? Because if that's the case, if you have a goal that's important to you, what I've found is my life naturally gets out of balance because I'm working towards that goal and I'm putting a lot of time and effort and focus into that task. So yeah. The whitest rabbit says, if you think about it hard enough, you might think, what makes a sleep schedule balanced? Yeah, that's a good point. Unless you want to balance sleep with awake time, and then you're doing 12 hours a day.
I know people that do that.
I do too.
We both know the same person that does that.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Yeah. And Savage says schedules really help for balancing things such as setting up certain times for things. Absolutely. So like if you whether it's like a paper schedule calendar type of thing, or whether you have it on your phone or on your computer, whatever, those can be really helpful. But anyway, so I'm going to turn this over to Ryan. I really am interested to hear what Ryan's take is on this whole issue of how can I balance my life better? So
this is an interesting question because it, like Joe was saying, or anyone really, why do you feel it's out of balance? And I suspect it's something like you only feel something is out of balance when you're prompted with a suggestion that it's not as good as it should be, or there are things you should be doing that you're not doing. And to me, that says it bears this idea that you have lack of control. And it's not necessarily a lack of control as in like you don't have control over what you're doing in the day, or necessarily even a lack of control and like you have a lack of self-control, but more so that your life isn't fully in your control, right? And so it's like, well, I feel like to be balanced, I would need to exercise more. And I would also need to eat the correct meals. And I would also need to work this much time and play this much time and do all of these things, like have all of it. And in life, if you want the full buffet, I have witnessed people who live a lifestyle where they attempt the full buffet, where they have times where they exercise, they eat right, they work hard, and they play hard, right? I've seen people do that. And it is, those people that I've seen are usually very, what's the word? Very,
stressed
I don't want to
out.
say charismatic.
Stressed out.
Yeah, no. Stressed out. I don't want to say charismatic, though they do tend to have a sort of charism to them. More so, they're very, they have this demeanor about them that sort of is like they're tall. You know what I'm saying? They're tall. They stand tall. They stand tall. And they are very strict and they know what they want and they get what they want kinds of people, right? So I wouldn't say it always associated with charism. They're not always charismatic, but they know what they want and they always get what they want sort of people. And there's nothing wrong with that. I've met those kinds of people and they're very, very, very well trained to be very, what's the word? What's the word? Starts with a C.
Self-confident.
Yeah, they're usually self-confident, very much so, but it's when someone, like when your parent will usually treat you with this to raise you correctly, to make sure that you're on point.
Discipline.
Disciplined, yes. Very, very high self-discipline, right?
Mm.
And I think that's great. That's great. And the question is, how do you, if that's what you're after, if that's what you mean by like, how do I live a balanced life? How do you balance your life better? If that's what you're seeking, this sort of high self-discipline, I work hard, I play hard, I exercise, I eat right, I do everything to the best of my ability, correct. From what I've seen in those kinds of people, I've seen a couple of things that need to be noted. One, those people are not laid back people. Okay? So if you talk with these people, they are never laid back. Ever. Okay? Because to get your mind in a position where you have that level of control, you forego the ability to allow, not allow, but you sort of lose the ability to be laid back a lot of times. Now, it's a, again, then it's like you're getting into the balance thing. How do you balance that out? And if you work towards balancing everything, I think you're just going to go, like, not insane or anything. You're just going to find yourself trying to practice virtues. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? I think that's really the best route to any of this. Because if you try to be balanced, how do you, like all the questions in chat, how do you do that? What exactly are you trying to balance? What are you working at? And that's a really hard thing to do. And I've seen people, right? They're very, very, very on point with like balancing everything ever. Some of them are very uptight. Yeah. And some of them are a little bit more lax. But I haven't seen any of them that are super, super lax, right? But I think there is something valuable there, in that if you don't naturally gravitate, I think that people who have a really balanced life, they tend to be one personality type that I can see. And that's choleric. Mm-hmm. And why? Because they are very driven to get whatever they're after.
Yes.
So they are in control of everything, which makes it so that, again, they might not necessarily be super lax, which I think having a sense of lax is healthy for you. It helps with peace and helps with just a lot of things. But is it necessary? No. So it depends on your personality type, right? But I see people who get this balance generally tend to be cholerics. Mm-hmm. But that's what a choleric looks like if they're chasing virtue, is that balanced sort of look. But you might not be like cleric. And by cleric, I mean outgoing and task-oriented. That's all I mean. Mm-hmm. Outgoing, task-oriented. Let's see, you're outgoing and people-oriented. Or people-oriented and relaxed. Like, what's the word?
Introverted.
Introverted, there you go. Introverted. Or reserved, right? Introverted / reserved. You know, it depends on your personality, what all this is going to look like. Because that's your core of how you perceive and interact with the world around you. Mm-hmm. And so your balance will probably not be what I'm describing. Because, yeah, you're probably not that kind of personality. But if you are, then you just need to chase after the virtues. And if you aren't, chase after the virtues, I think, really. I mean, because in the end, what is a balanced life? It doesn't really mean much of anything, because it's like, what makes anything about what your idea of balanced is? What makes it good? You know, it's like, balance is good. That's what we're told, right? Being balanced is good. And there is a goodness to being balanced in a lot of things. Being able to be confident enough to go a direction and humble enough to stop, right? When you're corrected, right? That's a balance game, and that's huge. But what does that come from? That's just the virtue of humility, and also humility. Having self-confidence is a matter of virtue, which is humility. It's also having the ability to stop, like, and know, like, okay, I should just let go here. That's also a matter of humility, you know? And so I think a lot of this comes down to, instead of trying to balance everything like exercise and eating right and work and play and whatever else is, like prayer time, right? And I don't know, whatever else, right? Family life. Family life is probably a big one people want to balance, right? Like, I need to spend more time with family. The problem with any of these is, it's like, no matter how much you work, you'll never be done. There's always more work. So it's like, okay, so I need to balance that because I'm never done. No matter how much family time I spend, there's always potentially more. No matter how much time I spend in prayer, there's always more. There's always more of all of these, and that's what requires you to balance. But it's like, to me, if you went full on and worked and did nothing but work, you could get a lot done.
Mm-hmm.
And is there something wrong with that? No. Are you missing out on other parts of your life? Absolutely. But is that wrong? No. It's not wrong. It's not evil, right? You're just choosing what to do with your life, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you have your virtues set up well, when opportunities hit you, like, instead of going like, I'm putting work as the forefront, it is my most priority, and then everything else falls below that, well, then you're always going to be working. And let's say you do that, but you have this sense of virtue. Now, you have work at the top, sure, but then your virtues come in and they go, actually, right now, something is going on in my life, like this person is encountering me, and my virtue of, let's say, charity or whatever, is telling me this is more important than work at this moment. And so once I get done with this, maybe I'll go back to work. But this right here is more important.
Mm-hmm.
So virtues are what's going to line up, at least in moment to moment basis, what's the better option to take throughout life, rather than trying to figure out all of that right now without any virtues and go, okay, I'm told by science that I need more exercise. I'm told by my parents I need better food. I'm told by my society around me that who I am, what I'm worth is what I work on. I'm told by, science again that I need more rest. You know, I'm told by my brain and my body that I'm exhausted and that I need more rest, right? I'm told by my spirit life that I need to spend more time with God. It's like, how do you manage all of that? There's no way you can just take account for all of those and then just say, oh, suddenly I know what's more important. You know, I think this sense of, what's the word, discernment about what you should schedule and why comes from pursuing virtues and growing in that. And if you grow in your virtues, everything will be more and more better discerned. And here's the thing, virtues are also limitless. So what's nice about that is there's an infinite good that's achievable. And so you can always get better and better and better and better and better. And as you continue going up that rung of that ladder of getting better and better at being good and virtuous and so on, you'll start to see things reorder themselves naturally. And they'll reorder. And then it's like things will start to fall into place. Why? Humility. Again, the chief of virtues. Why? Humility is recognizing values of everything around you in life and beyond, and living out and interacting with those values appropriately, accordingly, right? That's humility. And a lot of times we think of humility as putting ourselves below other people. And that's not true humility. In fact, that can be an issue of pride too. Being selfish is prideful, but being selfless is also prideful. It's an issue of not understanding self-worth. Mm-hmm. It's a misplacement. Both of them are misplacements of self-worth. and you're putting yourself in a position that's incorrect with the world around you. And so you become prideful. You become unordered. And when you order yourself more and more to what's actually valuable in life, what is important in your life will naturally come into balance. Because not everything is the same level of importance in everybody's life. An athlete has to exercise a lot more for what their life has in store for them than I do as a musician or as anything, right? And so we're all living different lives. To think that we all, like even sleep, I was brought up, sleep schedules. Some of us do really well off of 3 hours of sleep, 6 hours of sleep, or 9 hours of sleep. They have this weird 3-hour cycle. Some of us, it's like 3.5 of an hour, or some of it's 2.5, right? You have these variances. Like for me, if I wake up after 7 hours, I feel amazing. Sometimes I wake up after 8 hours and I feel like crap. And it's like, that extra half an hour totally just wrecked the sleep schedule. Things like that. And that's common for everybody. Stuff like that is very common. We're all very different. We're all, and trying to establish like what's a balanced health food diet is incredibly difficult. There's so many different body types out there, and there's so much different science that says, well, do this, no, do that, do this. All the data is so everywhere. We can't make up our minds about anything when it comes to biology. So how do you find that? It's through experimentation. It's through living and discernment. It's through paying attention to yourself and paying attention to what's good. And as you pay attention to the goodness and you prioritize goodness more than other things, again, things will fall into balance for you. Your balance is not going to be the same as everybody's. And so you might see yourself like, well, I work harder than other people around me. Well, maybe that's your lot in life and that's a good thing. And that's okay. Or you might say, well, I play harder than everybody else around me. It's like, well, maybe that is your lot in life, and that's okay. Maybe you have a heightened amount of joy or whatever you can bring to others out of that other people don't experience. Being someone who can experience great amounts of joy can also bring it to other people, and that can be a beautiful thing. I'm not trying to say that where you're at right now is the perfect balance. I'm not trying to give people an excuse of being like, well, I'm just not the kind of person that works, I'm just not that kind of person, so I won't, and it's like, whatever. I think as you pursue virtues more, you might realize like, okay, that's not who I'm meant to be though. That's not the best version of myself. In fact, the better version of myself is working harder or is choosing to relax a little bit more and not feel so like uptight and stressed out about working all the time. It's an endless chore, and we have to realize that. So there's a balance to everything, right? And that balance isn't necessarily, the balance doesn't come from having a yin and yang. The balance comes from understanding the ultimate good, right? It's not like, oh, in order to be a perfect worker, I need to work poorly and work really good, right? And then I'll be the balanced worker. Oh, yeah. It's like, that's not perfectly how it works, balanced. Right? Yeah. Balance doesn't work like that. Balance is naturally achieved when you shoot for the highest good. When you shoot for the highest good, balance is naturally achieved because it doesn't allow you to obsess over particular things that don't matter, right? So if you prioritize or obsess over the amount that you get done, they're going to have an imbalance, right? If you can let that fall in line with what's actually good, you'll have a balance. So that's why balance is an outcome of the virtues, and mostly balance is the outcome of humility. So I would say work on humility. And that's a hard one to work on. But work on humility, and then as you're chasing after the greatest humility you possibly can, naturally things will fall into place about what matters, what's important, how much time should I spend on this, et cetera, et cetera. And I wanted to talk. I I I don't have this very well figured out either, but I have gone through life enough to know that when I am practicing humility more and practicing the importance of value and living that out every day and understanding that and spending time on it, right? Life is generally better and more balanced and happier and peaceful and good, right? It feels good. So I would recommend that. That's my really winded way of saying, if you want balance, how do you get balance? How do you balance your life better? Practice humility. And I know it sounds weird, but that's what it is.
All right.
There you go.
Thanks, Ryan.
You're welcome.
I think that's man, that was so well said. Like, because it's so true. Like living with virtue is what really can bring you a great deal of happiness. Because isn't that the point? I mean, the point of having a balanced life, we think in terms, correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of times what we think is that's going to help us achieve the happiest life, the most fulfilling or the most peaceful or whatever, the most well-rounded life or whatever you're talking about. But yeah, pursuing virtue is really the key.
Yeah.
To
it has to be well-rounded in order to your own life, right? Because like you look at people who lived phenomenal lives. I mean, saints are a great place to go to, but even outside of that, you look at like Einstein or Tesla or Newton or whatever, you see these huge like figures in intelligence. And it's like their balanced life, it's not necessarily about the balance. It was about what they could bring to the world. And that required a great amount of study, a great amount of perseverance on intellectual activities. And that's like, the more they did that, the more we got out of it. And so it's like balance is not the same for everybody, you know? And so it's important to realize that your life and the way that it's going to go is not going to be the same as other people.
Right.
And that balance. Yeah. So live life in order to your best good, not necessarily the society's understanding of balance. I think. Yeah.
No, I think
Sorry,
that's a really good way. No, you're totally fine. But no, it was said really well. And Savage, hey, see you later if you're still up and listening. Have a good night. Thanks for stopping. And
and thanks for your input too.
Yep, absolutely. But so scheduling, and I think I'm gonna swing back around to the issue of priorities, because really, if we're trying to achieve some kind of a balance, the real key is figuring out what's important to you, and then making sure you put those blocks in your time. The things that are important to you, like put those in first. And kind of you kind of can rank these things in order of importance. Now, some of them are kind of they intermingle with each other. So if I say I have a priority for my family, like my family's top priority, right? So what does that mean? Does that mean that I'm going to just spend all of my time with my family and never go to work? Well, that's a good way to not be able to support your family. Because a lot of these things we do, these things play into each other, right? So in order to support my family well, in order to, try and provide, I need to work in order to make money, in order to support them, right? And so like this is... So that's interchangeable. There has to be some kind of balance. Now, if all I do is spend time at work and I spend no time with my family, then, then obviously there's some stuff lacking in that priority. So, it doesn't necessarily have to be, you absolutely can. You absolutely can. And other people can trick you as well. I have been tricked and tricked myself.
Oh yeah. Yes.
In all of these areas, right? So if so I don't know, I think, man, between what you said about virtue and what I've already said about priorities, that's a lot that I can think of as far as you know, answering this topic. And I think it kind of comes back down to what Neonsai said when we first started talking about this, and is, why do you need balance?
Yeah.
And what does that look like? What does balance look like to you? You know, because we can't just give equal amounts of time to everything in order to balance the schedule, right? Because all of those things can affect us holistically. They can affect, like my work, the amount I work, the amount of money I bring in can affect my family life. But if I work too much and don't spend any time with my family, then, my family suffers. My family life suffers. And so it really comes down to, all right, what are the important things in my life? I'm going to make sure I put those in my schedule first. That to me, when I learned that, how to do that and how that was important, one of the things I realized for me personally is that I would have a really hard time working a job for another person who was in charge of my schedule. Because there are things that are going on, like my kids, I always want to be at their events, right? Like tonight, I was at the choir event. So I was not working at your house today, Ryan, because I went to the choir concert, right?
That's good.
So, but I take those and I put those chunks in, like, what are the most important things for me to be at? And then I can work around all of that, and I can fill work in there. I can fill play in there. I can fill all these things in there. I will say this, that if you have no playtime, it's really going to be a tough go for you in your life. So, because there have been times in my life where I just work, never take a break, hardly. And it really, really does burn you out over time. And so that's why it's important to, this is foundational, to take one day off a week. And it's crazy. I have to force myself sometimes, because on a lot of Sundays I try and take off and not do any work, right? Unless I have another day in there where it kind of falls into place. But a lot of time it's Sunday. So now on Sundays, half of the Sundays I have my boys. And so we're hanging out and we're doing stuff and whatever, and it's cool. And then there's church thrown in there. But then on Sundays when I don't have my boys, a lot of times I'll go visit with my friends Kate and Tony. And we'll talk about music recording stuff. We'll talk about podcasting, different stuff. And we'll just hang out. And we're involved in each other's lives. When I go to their place, I drive right by the cabinet shop where I'm working most of the week. And, we own it, so I have keys and I can just go it. Like, it'd be so easy for me to just pop in and, I just got to take care of a couple things. But I deliberately, on those days, I force myself to not stop there. Because I'm like, nope, I'm taking this day off of working. And so these are things to think about as you're putting your life together. And one of the things that Ryan said so poignantly was the self-discipline aspect of things. And that is, these things can take discipline. They will require you to say no to yourself. Because what I feel like doing is not always what's best for me to be doing. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I find a lot of times what I feel like doing isn't the best thing for me to be doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because there's other stuff. I have, there are commitments. There are other people counting on me, in different areas. And so these things need to be taken care of. But yeah, so anyway, between like what Ryan was saying, one of the best ways to set up that schedule of the different chunks, what chunks are most important when you're creating your priorities. One of the best things you can do is to pursue virtue, because that will help you line up your priorities properly for a very happy and joyful and peaceful life. That's what those virtues do. And it's interesting because, we talk about pursuing virtues. We can talk about the 10 Commandments in the Bible. It's interesting because we look at those as a set of rules and we're like, I don't want to follow these rules, whatever, blah, 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 blah. Here's the thing about those rules. They're the recipe for a happy life. And when you start thinking about them as rules, like if you're anything like me, like I want to rebel against the rules because I don't like having to follow the rules. I hate, who are you to tell me what to do? Blah, 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 right? And so that's kind of the mentality I would have. But when you start looking at those, instead of looking at them as rules and commandments, you can look at them as guidelines for how to live a fulfilling life. And one that you will be at peace with the people around you, that you will feel good about yourself and about the people around you, and to have that kind of existence and to live with that integrity. And that's some of the best things you can do. So anyway, how do I live a balanced life? How can I balance my life? Is that what how can I balance my life better? I'd say follow what Ryan said, pursue virtue. And then instead of thinking in terms of balance, think in terms of priorities. And line things up in a way that then you can make sure, okay, I'm taking care of the most important things to me. And sometimes you're going to have to sit there and figure out what's important to me. What actually is important to me?
Mm-hmm.
You might have to step back and answer that question for yourself first. Because it's tough to set up priorities when you don't know what's important to you.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. So anyway,
I only want to add one thing here, and that is if your problem is that if you don't feel like you're getting enough playtime, that's where you feel that your balance is whatever. I'm gonna just say this: if a puppy, I'm gonna go with the dog, but remember we are animals, and I'll relate it back. But if a puppy does not play, okay, it never learns how to use its mouth correctly. So if you deprive a puppy from its playtime, always, and you never allow it to bite anything or whatever, you always like scold it if it tries to play and bite too hard and things like that, right? What happens is, or if you seclude it so the dog never gets another dog to play with or whatever, right? Then, right, once it's an adult, it cannot bite softly. It doesn't know how. It never learns how.
Yeah.
It will be unable to pick up an egg with its mouth without breaking it. While if you train a dog, or not train a dog, but if you let a dog play like a puppy at its puppy stages, when it grows up, it will naturally pick up chicken eggs and so on and so forth without breaking them. Very tender, very, objects that are very fragile, it'll pick it up just fine. Okay? But if you don't allow it to play, it will break it. Okay. That's important. How do humans learn? When you think about children, play is the most effective tool for learning for children. Okay? As an adult, as human beings, we're a little bit different than animals. As human beings, we never break that cycle. because humans have a great capacity for intellectual, like they have a great capacity for intelligence and learning. And so it's not just that you will learn more if you play more so you will get better at your work, and you will get better at your interactions with other people. You know, if a child is always rebuked for playing, and they've done studies, and this is awful, they've followed children who have parents who are incredibly strict. Strict is the word I was looking for. There is a C in it. But anyways, people who, if you follow parents who are incredibly strict and don't let their kids play is not an activity we do. They have a very hard time interacting with other people. They have a very hard time figuring out like tasks that they want to do in life. They have a hard time with a lot of things, and that comes, and they're naturally like afraid of a lot of things too that most people aren't afraid of, right? And that comes out of a lack of play, because play is where our minds are most engaged with the things that we're learning about how to, like spatial awareness, but more than that, even just some facts of wisdom, or taking in things that will actually help us at our workplace, taking in social aspects and how to interact with people or our environment, taking in all sorts of different information, and we're taking in without realizing it. So play is crucial for your development, not just your development as a child to adulthood, but even throughout your adulthood. Play is crucial for development in character, development in wisdom, and also manipulating the world around you, like physically with your hands, talking to people and socializing, all sorts of different things. So play is an important part of your life because it actually increases productivity, increases the understanding of the world around you, increases your performance in dealing with people and everything. So play is really important if you want to continue to develop as a human being. Now, obviously, work and play can go together, and your work can be play, and you're doing both at once, and that's great. That's a good place to be, but that's not always where you are. In fact, even if you get into a position where you're like, I finally got my dream job, it's work and play at the same time, and eventually it will just become work. And sometimes it'll become play again, yes. And it'll go back and forth.
Yeah.
And so you just have to expect that it'll go back and forth. But play is important. Play is important for your development and for your constant development as a human being. Mm-hmm. So I just want to sell you on that if that's what you're struggling with.
Sold.
Okay.
Play more.
Cool. Play more.
Yeah.
Play puppy play.
Play puppy play. Good.
We're all puppies. All right, that's what I wanted to add.
Yes. Awesome. Well, thank you, Anonymous. Thank you for that topic. And hopefully that was Anonymous, right?
We got torches in here.
Yep. Yeah, I put that in there.
Yay.
So yeah, thank you very much, Anonymous, for the topic. Hopefully we had some good stuff. I know there was a lot of good stuff coming from the chat. You guys are awesome. So yeah, thank you. And we will move on to our next topic. Again, if you have a topic that you'd like us to talk about, you can go to don'tworrywednesday.com, click the submit a topic button. We'd be happy to do your topic. So anyway, let's move on. We got our topic from Twashu. Twashu, you still here? Please still be here. Because we're gonna do your topic like right now. Hey, of course. Thank you. All right, cool. So this topic from Twashu is called "How can I have an easier time replying to people?" So that's what this one's about. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put this topic up on the screen so you guys can read it. You guys can read it aloud while I read it aloud, and then we can compare and see who read it aloud better. It's a competition.
Wow.
It's actually not.
Turning it into a competition.
All right. So I'll get this up on the screen for you guys here. And yes, this is called "How Can I Have an Easier Time Replying to People?" And it reads like this. Basically, especially since my last job where I would be bombarded by DMs every day asking me if I could come in for someone else who got sick, I've been having a hard time answering DMs. It kind of spread in all directions, but the scenario is kind of the same. It starts with getting a message by someone who either I'm still supposed to do something for them and either forgot or having a hard time. I'm asked to do something where I don't feel up to the task. But it's something so small that it would be really embarrassing to admit I can't do it, aka I wouldn't be taken serious. I will then not even read the message except it has a pre-shown text. But I want the person to think I did not read it yet and not lead them on read. And instead
Oh yeah.
go completely inactive for days or weeks until I hope the person who has messaged me forgot about it. Obviously, I know that's not the healthiest thing to do, and it has ruined some relationships before. While I know that most people won't even be mad with me, it still takes me great effort to face the confrontation. So, any advice that makes it easier? From Twashu. Thank you, Twashu. This is definitely an interesting topic, and I understand the fear of confrontation. I understand the fear of letting people down, and I think a lot of it stems with that. Neonsai has some really important stuff in the chat. To be okay with disappointing people is an important life skill. Because it's true. We're always going to, we can't escape that. We can't escape that. And, it's hard. Sometimes we have trouble saying no. And I know I lived through that for a long time where I would have a real trouble saying no. But then what happens is I eventually, even if I didn't say no, my actions said no. Because then I would say yeah and then not do the thing. Right? Or maybe I do what it seems that you're doing, Twashu, and just kind of not reply or hide out or whatever, right? A lot of the times when I was dealing with this, most of the interactions were face to face, and so or speaking on the phone, where I would agree to do something or, whatever, and then just not follow through. And then the problem is that creates a habit in your character of not following through, and then you become seen as unreliable, and then people don't trust you, and that's not a good place to be. I think it's somewhere in scripture where it says, "Let your yes be yes and your no be no." I think those are the words of Jesus, actually, and that's that can be really helpful for us to just sit and be like, you know what? It's okay to tell people no. It's okay to say no. It's okay to let people down sometimes. But I would say it's better to let them down just up front and say no than to string them along and then have it end up letting them down that you didn't do the thing, right? So, anyway, how to make that easier? Man, in my experience, the only thing that ever made it easier was practicing it and just doing it. And it's hard at first.
Yeah.
It's hard to say no. It's hard to take the message, reply, and say, "No, I'm sorry, I can't do that." Now, here's the thing: like you said, Twashu, in your topic, they're probably not gonna be mad at you. They might be upset because they want their stuff done or they want whatever from you, but they're not gonna be mad at you. And if they are, then that's really a them problem. But we want people to like us. We want people to not be mad at us. I understand. It's uncomfortable when somebody's mad at me. But I think I have to be careful saying this, but after being married, I've gotten comfortable with people being mad at me.
Yeah, I had an experience.
But anyway, I'm going to turn this over to Ryan before I say something else that gets me in trouble. Ryan, have at it, buddy.
Yeah, I'll do my best. You know, Tosh, this is incredibly relatable. This
Mhm.
is what I did throughout my entire school life. Like, I remember starting at a year, I really liked a teacher or something, and I would turn in my homework. And then the one time I forgot to, like, I didn't do my homework, I would just never do my homework again for the rest of the whole year, which was usually pretty early on. And I would just kind of duck out and, you know, pretend I wasn't there, and I dodged the teacher and so on and so forth. And that's what I was off. It was stupid. That's literally what I did all throughout school. Okay. So what I'm saying is I can relate to you, maybe even I don't know if you did that, but maybe you had the same experience. I'm not sure. Either way, whether you did or didn't, I can very much relate to this. And so here's some things I have to say. Obviously, you already kind of know this, but shame is never an excuse for anything, right? If you feel ashamed of not getting something done, if you feel ashamed of anything and it causes you to, like, shame is not a good enough reason to wreck a relationship, right? Shame is not a good enough reason to hide your face, right?
That's
I
what
know
we
that,
want to do when we're ashamed. We want to hide our
yeah, when we're
face.
ashamed, we want to hide.
That's
Here's, I mean, there's a lot of, like, the response to the correct response to shame is to be vulnerable and encounter anyways. So I'm gonna give you, like, I've mentioned this before, and I wrote it down somewhere and I just can't remember where, but it doesn't matter. Adam and Eve. Okay, I'm gonna go to the Bible real quick. And Adam and Eve, they took of the fruit, ate it, and they did the one thing they were basically told not to do, right? And they came to know good and evil. Um, and what it means to know evil means that you participated in evil and now you know what it's like, right? And that's how they learned. That's how they now know evil. Um, and they also through that know good. Anyways, so they mess up, right? They make this mistake, and then they're just super shameful. So what do they do in their shame? Okay, here's what they do. They go out and they hide from God. Well, they can't even do that anyways, right? It's like, you know, you can't necessarily hide from these people. They know you exist. They're trying to message you. You're ignoring them, right? Blah blah blah. You're hiding, but it's not really going to work. It's only hiding is only going to make things worse, right? So they don't just hide from God. What else do? They also cover their sensitive areas, their vulnerable spots, right? They cover up their vulnerabilities with fig leaves. Okay? Here's a little known fact about fig leaves. Fig leaves can cause rashes.
on your unmentionables.
On your unmentionables, of all things. So, what do they do in their shame? They not only hide, they also cover up their vulnerabilities because they're like, oh, I'm exposed. I'm vulnerable here. I've messed up. I've made a mistake. And now I'm vulnerable. What do? I hide and then I cover up with something that is self deprecating, self destructive. Why do we do that? We punish ourselves. And here's the weird part, like, now they've basically, yeah, on their vulnerabilities, they've punished themselves and they've covered it up so that other people can't see them. Okay. Now, this is what they did, right? What's a better response? What's a better response, right? It's a good question to ask here because that's what shame does to you. That's how you react in shame. That's how they reacted in shame. That's how they reacted in shame filled with sin, right? I could say that. Now, if instead they instead of hiding from God, they went to God, right? And they opened up and were like vulnerable and saying, hey, look, I didn't do what I was supposed to do. I messed up. I did you wrong. I should have done this. I didn't do it. Whether it was my choice or wasn't my choice, whatever happened, like I was threatened into this position, you know, the serpent was huge and he was scary, whatever, you know, whatever it was, I didn't do the thing I was supposed to do, or I did the thing I wasn't supposed to do. And they were vulnerable, right? When you open up with that vulnerability, it allows you to grow. It allows you to overcome that vulnerability rather than carry it with you forever. Because even if they remove, like, they cover themselves up, right, in these fig leaves, and it's like they remove it, the rash is going to be there for a while, right? Because of the self-punishment deal. You don't need to do that. You don't need to punish yourself. You don't need to hide either. If you can choose to take the route where you choose to be vulnerable and say, look, I messed up, I made a mistake, I should have done better, whatever, I could be a better person, whatever, you just out with it. You know what happens? Like, if you've probably done this before, Twashu, you've probably done this before, but where you just like decide to be vulnerable and honest, and you're like, hey, you know what? I failed you. Okay, if the person's good, like God, they'll forgive you, right? Of course. And they'll try to bring you up higher. And they'll try to understand your position. But you as a person, even more importantly, you as a person, have a chance to grow beyond this. Because of the actions that Adam and Eve did, and then they are choosing to hide and choosing to cover up and do self-punishment, self-harm, they only got worse. They only got worse because they refused to be vulnerable to the very person that they hurt. And you know what's interesting too? They hurt each other. Because, I mean, if you read the scenario, Adam is there while Eve and Adam are at the tree, encountering the serpent, who's telling them to eat the fruit. Eve does. Eve gives it over to Adam. Adam does. Right? They've all hurt each other now. And what do? Okay, they're in this. They had no shame, right? They're in this perfect relationship that's beautiful. There's nothing wrong. There's like perfect union between them. They're open. They're naked and unashamed. What happens when they hurt each other? Oh, no, you're not going to see my private parts anymore. What's that got to do with anything? Well, they're vulnerable. That's where there's like something has been violated. Something between them in their perfect relationship has now been violated. So now they don't trust each other anymore. So what happens if they don't trust anymore? It's like, well, fine, I'm not going to reveal my full self to you anymore. Because last time I revealed my full self to you, you hurt me. So I can't be vulnerable to you anymore. And so they can't be honest with each other anymore fully. They can't be fully open to each other and exchange on a deep level. They can't be as deep with each other anymore. Because they've got all these walls built up now because they've broken each other's trust. How do you resolve that? Well, certainly not just by covering up and hiding from each other. That'll never get you anywhere. You have to encounter the pain and guilt and whatever that is, whether it's in you or somebody else, with vulnerability and openness. If you want to make anything better. Because if you never do that, your relationship will get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And it's a two-party deal. Both of them have to be willing to be vulnerable. But if both parties never agree to be vulnerable with each other ever again, that relationship will only end in departure. Ever. So there has to come a point where you say, I will own up to my guilt or shame or whatever it is, or I will welcome this person in who has trespassed against me, right? This person who has the shame. I will welcome them in and say, you know, it's okay. I understand your shame. Let's be open and figure this out and make it work from here. Right? Let's be open, figure this out and make it work from here. We can do that. But only if we're willing to actually talk to each other first. Right? And so Twashu, you know all of this. This is why you bring up the topic. I'm just instilling it in your brain with more concrete visual concepts, right? So you know all this already. I'm just repeating it because that's important so that next time you feel this way and you feel like, man, you know, I've not done my duty. This person's waiting on me. It's already past the point of like turning it in. I'm just going to hide. I'm just going to pretend like I don't exist anymore, whatever. I'm just not going to interact with them because I don't want them to bring it up, because if they bring it up, I'll be full of shame. You know? Right? Obviously not a good method, and that's where you're at. How do you conquer that? Remembering that it's not worth anything to do that. Whenever you experience that and you feel that like desire to just run away, know that this is your chance to enter into a vulnerable spot, to be closer with that person than you ever would have been capable of being if you were never vulnerable at all, right? Having a pure relationship requires vulnerability, requires overcoming these obstacles that we accidentally face. So being vulnerable is important. It's crucial to any good relationship. And so when you're experiencing this, don't put up a wall, enter into it. And if they're a good person, that relationship will become awesome. If they're a bad person, that relationship will become crap, and it was destined for that anyways. So you might as well face it now and be like, well, at least I'm not guilty here. I did my best. Then carrying this with you for the rest of your life, not knowing whether that person was even good or not, right? It's better to hold up your side of what you got and to be turned down and just be like, you know, pushed aside or whatever, like yelled at, whatever it is, right? It's better to be yelled at and have a pure heart than to never enter that combat at all, right? And or just be like, I'm just going to remain with my impure heart and try to hide, right? It doesn't do you any good to do that. So, got to be vulnerable. And how do you get there? Through practice. Mm-hmm. Through practice. The way I got over this, like I said, I went through all of school like that. It was stupid. And the way I got over it was, I mean, like my wife said, you have to be understanding that you're going to let people down in life. But that's on them more so than it is on you. But of course, it's on you too if you agreed to something and you didn't fulfill it. But instead of hiding, you encounter the person. Like if I didn't show up on time when there are times where I didn't show up on time to a meeting I had with Joe, and it hurt Joe a lot. Okay. If I just was like, well, I guess I'll just never talk to Joe again, that would have been the wrong answer.
For who?
For both of us, you know?
Right.
It would have been wrong for both of us. It would have been crap to treat him that way. Like, oh no, it's like I was late one time and then we made friends. Then I was late another time and it's like, oh, even more shame. Okay, I'm not going to own up to it. I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to pretend that I don't exist.
It wasn't late. You just didn't show.
Yeah, well, there you go.
You're talking about late, meaning like the next day.
Yeah, that's late. Still counts. I wasn't there for our meeting yesterday. Anyways,
yeah.
So it's like you're gonna make mistakes in life. You're gonna make a lot of them, and you're gonna hurt people, and you're gonna hurt yourself, and other people are gonna hurt you, and all of that pain and suffering. The reason there's pain and suffering there is because there's something valuable that's not met. But you're not going to get that valuable thing if you run away. You have to encounter that person. You have to make amends. You have to do your best, and you can never fix it. You can never undo it. You can never do enough that it fixes it. It's like, you can never do enough where it's like, okay, now that I've done all of this for this person, I've paid it off. That doesn't work. there is like no such thing as paying off the past. The only thing you can do is try to go from where you are into the future better. That's all you can ever do. And so that requires forgiveness. It requires intention. It requires incentiveness. It requires a lot of things from you, but it requires a good, pure heart where you go in and you just say, hey, look, I'm honest. I messed up. I messed up. That's all I can say is I messed up. Because that's what happened. You know? But I want to be your friend. I want to do this thing still. Can we talk about it? Can we set up a different date? Can we do whatever? And that's where you go. And it's okay to be wrong. It's okay to have shame. Because shame is just trying to guide you in a better direction. Just like guilt. Shame can be misguided. Guilt can be misguided. But the important thing is take up that cross and walk. Take up that suffering and just go to the point of pain and just encounter it. Because it's waiting for you so that it can give you something worth having. Rather than running away from it like Peter, let's say, who runs away from, is like, oh, I don't know that guy. I had never heard of Jesus, and runs away. Right? It's like, coward. What did you gain from that? It's like, he knows nothing. And then later, Peter becomes an incredibly humble person, right? Because he recognizes that he can be wrong. And so anyways, my point is, humility is important, obviously. But encountering that suffering face first, encountering that shame face first, and vulnerable is the best way to encounter any of these shameful things. Because there is no alternative that's better. Ever. Because even if the person hurts you more, you learn that you shouldn't be in a relationship with that person. Or if that person hurts you more, or whatever they do, you learn from yourself that you're programming yourself to encounter the problems where they're at so you can solve them where they're at. Because you can't run away from a problem and solve it at the same time. Right? By entering into this vulnerable shame and going towards the problem and attempting to fix it, you're not just solving problems, you're becoming a problem solver. Someone who can actually solve problems, right? Really well. Because you're not afraid to enter into the darkness and the pain and the frightful scenario. And it's scary. It's never going to not just be scary. You're never going to just not have shame. But to be able to enter into that, it calls you to a higher level that will get you, make life better for everybody. And that's what I've got. Joe, with all that, I'm going to give it over to you.
You don't want to give it to me.
Oh. Okay.
Take it back.
Okay.
I'm kidding.
Hi. It's my turn again. What do you want to hear? I got nothing left.
So, all right. So, thank you, Ryan. And Neonce's got a bunch of stuff in the chat. Good stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff.
Ryan. And Mianglios. Yeah, Mianglios says from his perspective, I don't know if this is true for everyone, but I personally would rather someone say they can't do something than not respond at all. And he also says, I agree that sending someone a message that might let them down is hard. I think if the people messaging you are friends who truly care about you, then they should be understanding of you not being able to do something for them. And that's true. And sometimes we can explain through a bunch of stuff. I'm gonna take a little bit of a different approach on this one. You've just gotten your rear end handed to you by Ryan and Neonce.
Oh, sorry.
So
because we love you, Tosh. This is how we talk to ourselves.
A lot of you have to, you must, a lot of you gotta do this, right?
You shoulda.
There's a lot of that going on right now. So I'm going to tell you something. It's because it's scary. And I see your response here, Twash, is I feel like I'm just not strong enough for this all the time. And that's absolutely understandable. And I definitely know how you feel. I know how that feels. And it's fearful. It's scary. But most of the time, those giants that we face, they only get bigger if we run away from them. And so it's hard. It's hard to face that sometimes. But it can be done, and it's going to be okay. To do these things, to message someone, even though we're afraid, it's fearful, but it's going to be okay. And I like to look at it like this. When I'm looking down the face of something that I don't want to do, or that I'm afraid to do, or that I'm uncomfortable doing, or whatever it is, right? I'll say to myself, you know what? This is all going to be done in a minute, or a few minutes, or whatever, right? I'll say to myself, it's going to be done. It's going to be over soon. I just got to do it. I went through this situation. It was weird because I was feeling uncomfortable making a phone call. I was calling a person back. They had called us because at the cabinet shop because they want a custom China cabinet and, you know, some different stuff and whatnot. And, you know, like this, she had left a message on our phone system, left 2 of them actually. She called twice and left 2 messages. And we had been so busy, I didn't even, the calls ring to my cell phone, right? Like the number on our business card goes directly to my cell phone. It's not my cell phone number, but that's where it goes, right? And so so it just goes to my voicemail. And then, you know, so I get these voicemails of this lady and I'm like sitting there and I'm hemming and hawing calling her back. And I'm like, this is a person who's interested in what we want or what we have to do for her. Like, this is business for us. This is money. She wants us to build her something. And I was fearful of calling her back. Because it was like, you know, I should have been like jumping all over it, right? Like, this is, you know, hey, this is exactly what we do. This is what we want to do. This is what we can do for you, blah, blah, blah. But I was scared to call her back, partly because I don't know enough about the industry yet. The expert in our company is Ryan's brother, Kyle. He knows how all this stuff goes. And so, like, if I'm going to call, I don't know. I'm scared because I might not be able to answer all of her questions, whatever. And I'm like, wait a second. I have the default answer to that. It's like, thank you. Yeah, I'm not sure about that. I'm not as experienced as Kyle. I'll just get as much information from you as possible and I'll get it to him and then he can put a bid together for you or whatever, right? I know how to answer all this stuff, but I was still afraid. And finally, I'd made the call. I was like, I just got to do it. And I warmed up by calling some other people. You know, like I made a few other phone calls that weren't like scary. The point of this is, so that's how I kind of got myself warmed up into the phone calling mode.
Sure, yeah.
And then I called this lady and we had a wonderful conversation. Everything I was afraid of did not happen. All the things that I thought that were bad, that whole huge giant in front of me was not real. The conversation went fine. And that's how it's probably mostly going to be for you. I've learned that that's the case in a lot of time. Now, people are going to be disappointed sometimes when you tell them, no, you can't do it. Or man, I thought I could do this and now it looks like I can't. I'm really, really sorry. Sometimes that's the approach we have to take. And it just comes with saying you're sorry. Now, here's the thing, Toashio, I know you. I know your heart. I know you care. I know you are very loving. I know you are very kind. You're one of the most kind-hearted people I know. And so when you come to somebody and say, hey, I'm really, really sorry. I'm just not going to be able to do this for you. I really wish I could, but, I have all this stuff going on, whatever. I know that you're going to approach it in a very kind-hearted, apologetic way. And I can't imagine anybody harboring, bad thoughts about you for very long, if at all. I think you're going to be just fine. Going to be okay. And you're right. Sometimes you just feel like you're not strong enough. I felt like I wasn't strong enough to call back a person who wants to pay us money. We're a business that wants to make money. This person called multiple times to try and give us money. And I was afraid to call her back. Right? And sometimes it's just those nerves. It's just the nerves getting in, it creates this barrier. And what we find is that it's just, it's like running at a wall, full tilt. Like you're looking at this wall, you're like, I'm going to run right at this wall. And it turns out the wall is made of paper. And you just go right through it. And you're just like, oh, it was nothing. It was no big deal. And I felt energized afterward. And that's the thing. That's the reward at the end of these things. When you do it, when you muster up the courage, however long it takes you, whatever you got to do to muster up the courage and just message these people and reply to them. Afterward, you're going to feel so good that you did it. Now, it might be disappointing because you can't do what you wanted to be able to do for them or whatever, right? So there might be some of that in there. But the weight that you're dealing with, this burden that you're carrying around by trying to avoid them or making it look, not reading the message or whatever, that's creating a weight for you to carry around. And it's heavy. But the more you get those off your plate, the more you just be honest and upfront and say, hey, I'm really sorry. I can't do this for you right now or whatever. That weight goes away and you're not carrying that burden around anymore. And you're free. And it feels good. Because even if we try and push these things out of our mind, even if we numb ourselves with chemicals and stuff, we can't ever just get rid of it. They still haunt us. They're still there until we handle them. But then once you handle them, that stress, that weight, that burden goes away. And it's one of the most amazing feelings. Because you feel lighter, you feel freer, you feel, I did it, You feel a little bit more courageous. And with that practice that you're, like Ryan was talking about, the way to get good at this is through practice. Thank you, Neil. You're awesome. The way to get good at this is through practice, right? So the more you do it, the more you're going to feel that weight, that burden go away. And the more comfortable you're going to feel doing it again in the future. And then you're going to you're going to start to develop a new habit of being on top of these things and just being straight up and being like, yes, I can. No, I can't. Yes, I can. No, I can't. And you're going to build a lot more self-confidence. You're going to build strength. It's going to be amazing. But it takes taking that first step. And so how do you take the first step when you're facing something like this and it's really stressful and it's really and backed up? You feel all backed up and weighed down and right? How do you take that first step? What I would recommend, if you're doing this, these are DMs, right? So you got to reach out, DM me. Just to start DMing somebody. Or DM a friend of yours or whatever. You can even DM me and say no. Even though I didn't ask you anything. Just DM the word no. I'll know what you're getting
fully expecting that you to get that. Just gonna say no.
You can feel free to practice, hey, DM a friend just to get you warmed up into the mode of the act of DMing somebody, right? And then you'll feel a little bit more comfortable, and then you'll still have, it's weird though, because now you're feeling like, okay, now I can DM, but it's like, but this one's still really stressful, right? It is. And then there comes a moment where you maybe sometimes it takes a few people to talk to a little bit, just to kind of get warmed up. But then eventually you are faced with the decision. And it's like, I got to do this. And it's now or never, or it's now or I'm going to put it off again and I'm still going to carry this weight and whatever, right? But you get to that moment and it's still scary. It's not as scary. And you pumped yourself a little bit up and you're in the mode of DMing and now you're faced in the moment. And it's like, now's the moment that I pull out the arsenal out of my arsenal where I say, this will all be over in 5 minutes. It's not a big deal. I'm typing words. I would do that with the phone. I would do that with the phone. It's so easy to make a phone call. I look at my phone. My phone automatically comes on. That's how great technology is now, right? I don't even have to push anything. I just pick up my phone and look at it. And then all of a sudden my phone comes up. And then all I have to do is find that number from that missed call and hit it. It's not like that's a very hard thing to do.
Physically, anyways.
Exactly, right? It's not physically hard. Calling people is even worse. Yes. Phone calls is hard. We had a huge aspect of one of the businesses that I've run was making phone calls, and that was so hard.
Mm-hmm.
So hard.
Yeah. That was the hardest thing to do.
Yep. But the first one was always the hardest. And once you get the first one done, you start to kind of get on a roll. And that's why I'm saying DM some people that aren't, that's not this situation. Just DM some friends or whatever first. And so you just kind of get in that mode. Right? And then when you get to that moment where it's like, okay, this is the one that matters. It's the one that counts. Now you can say to yourself, you know what? It's all going to be over right now. It's all going to be over in a minute. It's all going to be over like in 5 minutes, whatever. And then it's done. And once it's done, oh my gosh, that feeling of freedom.
Yeah, feels good. Yeah.
That feeling where it just lifts off you. And you feel free. And you just took the action, like Ryan was talking about, You just did the practice, so you're stronger. Not only did you relieve yourself of this burden, but you're stronger now. You're better at this now because you did it. You're on the path to not having to deal with this burden ever. If I ever miss a business call, don't expect me to ever call back. It's scary. I understand. It is scary. That's okay. But what was it? What's the saying? There's no courage without fear. It's like a requirement. You have to. You have to experience fear in order to have courage. It's a requirement. And it's okay to be scared. It's okay to be afraid. And I don't want you to ever, I don't think of you any less of you because you've said you're scared about this. Ever. Because it's okay. I'm scared by the silliest, stupidest things. You know a lot of them, actually, probably, through our conversations. You think someone else got the courage for your fear? Maybe. That's definitely a possibility. But that's okay. And I just want to let you know it's going to be okay. Maybe a lot of these they have forgotten and, like whatever. If it's been like 2 years, I'd probably just skip those ones. They've probably come to grips with the fact that you're not going to do it, right? But if you've got some of these hanging over your head, then you can get started. And the more you do it, the better you'll feel about it. And the more freedom you'll feel as a result. And you'll be stronger. There's only good that comes out of this. And you'll learn better ways. As you do it more, you'll learn better ways to let people down easily and lightly. So like they can, so it's not so harsh for them. Because that was one of the things for me too. Is like, I just wanted to, I didn't want people to get hurt by me saying stuff. Saying no or whatever. And so you learn ways to say things that so it doesn't hurt so bad. You take the sting out of it. But you only learn that stuff through doing it and practicing it. Because if I just gave you a script of what to say, it might not sound right because it's coming from you and not me, right? It's got to be you and your words and your, how you say it to have the best impact. And so you can learn all that stuff. And that takes time. So, unfortunately, we are going to disappoint people for the rest of our lives. It's going to happen. We don't have unlimited time to do things. And, I mean, geez, you let me down the other day because I messaged you and I was like, I'm going to be home in 30 minutes. Let's play Fortnite. And you were sleeping.
Wow. Sleeping? Seriously? Wow. Watch you.
I'm totally kidding.
Shame.
It's totally fine.
Shame. Kidding.
It's totally fine. I understand, right? But that's it. It's not that big a deal. Because we don't get everything we want. Now, as I said something really great. What was it? Oh, I think. Think of a
says,
mother.
Joe, you are great.
No, that wasn't it.
That was the part that was really great.
That wasn't it.
Sorry, go on.
Think if a mother just let her toddler do whatever it wants because she's afraid of upsetting the toddler. That's how toddlers can end up dying or end up being a horrible person. And it's so very true. Right? Because sometimes people just can't get what they want. Like I can, oh man, I can remember, oh my gosh. this guy who inherited a huge company, a huge property management company, huge, one of the biggest, has most of the student housing for Michigan State University,
Wow.
and huge. And now they have luxury apartments all over the state. Huge company. He inherited it from his parents. He basically got everything handed to him. He never had to hear the word no. And it showed up in his persona. Because I got to do some work with this guy. And if you ever told him no, it would wreck everything. Like, he would just not talk to you or any of your family or friends or whatever, right? Because he was that spoiled of a brat as an adult. And I'm like, sometimes some people sometimes need to hear the word no, or else they'll become a spoiled little brat as an adult. And they do all kinds of crazy stuff, and they have affairs with all kinds of people, and live these lives of decadence, and it can just be horrible, right? So you're doing people a service by telling them no. You expect adults to know better than toddlers. They don't. Yep, it's true.
People will surprise you to ignorance always.
It's true, they do. So anyway, Twashu, hopefully that was helpful. Ryan, did you have anything else to have to say about this?
I might have at some point, but I don't now. So that was great.
I better not let you down.
That,
you need those last 30 levels in your battle pass. Yeah, I need them too.
Twashu, Joe knows you better than I do, and that's awesome. For everything I've seen from you, you're always very kind. And I can't, like Joe said, I can't imagine you going into a scenario and telling someone no where you weren't also very kind to them and already kind of saying the right things with the right tones and mentality that'll set you up for something good in your whatever it was, the misunderstanding or a lack of productivity or whatever it was, just dealing with them being vulnerable and honest and not trying to, show that like the less excuses, the better, as it is.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The less excuses, the better. The more honest, the better. And just
straightforward and not wordy, just straightforward and boom.
Yeah, that's I imagine you do all of that just fine, and so I don't think you have to be afraid of that. I don't think you have to be afraid of yourself in that situation. And I understand the fear of, hurting others or letting others down, or even just wondering what they're gonna react like. And maybe in your lifetime you've experienced people who react violently to something they don't get their way.
Yeah.
But like Joe was just saying, that's a product of them being treated in a specific way, like avoiding hurting the person in a way. It could be a product of that. It could be a product of many things. But the point is, don't stop being the good you that you can be just because of how other people might react, right? Because honestly, this problem is scary, but it's not far from already being solved.
Yeah. True.
That's the truth of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's scary, but it's not far from being already solved. Just solved. Like literally you're not far off from already solving it. Because you have the right intention, you have the right personality set up for you. It's not going to be too bad. It's just getting yourself to click the buttons, to make the phone calls, or to type the messages, whatever it has to be. Just doing it. And then, there's that pain of anticipation, wondering like when they're going to respond, what are they going to say, blah, blah, blah.
That's the most painful time right there. The
that's
anticipation time. That is the hardest to go through.
That's the hardest to go through, but it goes through in time. And yeah.
The biggest
You'll get there.
issue is the fear of conflict and confrontation. I understand that completely. Understand that completely. There are very few people in this world that are comfortable with confrontation.
Right.
Fewer still that crave it, like Steve. It's like
Yeah, life
he
isn't
wants
without.
to have
Yeah,
confrontation, right? Like Steve
yeah,
enjoys
that's
it.
right. Yeah, I would say this about that. Obviously, you already know, like that's part of life. But also, think about the hero who protects the bullied person, right? Think about the person in like a school or whatever. Like you see someone bullied, and you know the right thing to do is to like interfere, to get up in the bully's face and be like, "Hey, this is not what you're supposed to be doing." You know that. Just to show just to do the right thing is confrontational a lot of times. But in this position, to do the right thing, the conflict is with yourself. And so it's like you know what I'm saying? It's in order to do the right thing here, there's going to be confrontation. But the confrontation right now is not necessarily with the other person. It is eventually, but the first step is with yourself.
Yeah.
And so it's like, if I get hurt by this, I'm still doing a good thing. If you're protecting a kid who's being bullied, right? Like, you're doing the right thing by doing that. And there's confrontation and you could get hurt, but it's the right thing and it's a good thing. And it helps you, it helps the kid, and it could possibly even help the bully, right? And so in that scenario, you get good out of the confrontation. And sometimes you just have to look at yourself and be like, I've got this internal confrontation, or I've got this confrontation ahead of me with this other person, but I still know the right thing to do. And that is to conquer this and just go for it. And meet that confrontation, and so much good comes from it. So I know that's scary. But it's also the hero move. It's also the move that the good warrior takes, right? Etc. I think you get what I'm saying.
I'm gonna argue
Yeah, I've had
a little
enough.
bit with you,
Yeah.
Neon Sai.
Uh-oh.
I hate
Just
to say
arguments
it, but
coming on.
there's something to realize beyond getting screamed at. They are throwing a tantrum. They need to be met with both sympathy and guidance. Sometimes they need to be met with "shut up."
Fair enough. Sometimes you're right. That can be the case sometimes. But I think generally, yeah.
You're right. You can
Depends on the person
think
and your relationship with them.
To look at them with sympathy and you're talking about dissolving the anger. Okay. In your mind, you need to look at them like a child, like shit, like Neonce said, right? Where it's like, so in your mind, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. You're so immature, right? Or whatever. But yeah, no. Anyway, I don't know where I was going with that. I saw that comment. I was like, yeah. So, because if somebody's being violent, maybe they need to be restrained.
Right.
If
Yeah,
somebody's being verbally violent, then maybe they need to be told to shut up.
Verbally restrained.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and I understand having people scream at you and yell at you and be mad at you. Sometimes the only way people learn is to be physically hurt. Yeah, that's why, that's why they say spank your kids.
Yeah,
Don't do it to injure them. Don't do it, don't beat your children.
Because you're angry.
Right.
Yeah, never because you're angry.
Never
ever.
in anger do you discipline a child, ever. It always has to be after you're not angry anymore. And then, but yeah. But anyway, yeah. I don't know. You can do this, Twashu. You can. And I know maybe you don't believe it right now. I know enough about you to know that you can. You've reached out to me a bunch of times. You can reach out to other people. You've had to let me down before, and I've had to let you down before. And it's okay. Part of living. You can do this. And when you do, you'll grow and you'll feel a lot more freedom as a result. That I can promise. Reaching out to Joe is like the easiest thing. Do you want me to make it harder? Just for the practice.
Let's make it harder. You have to go through me to contact Joe from now on. I'll get back with you in a week.
You've eaten Jogurt before. Now eat this chili.
Jogurt?
Jogurt.
Jogurt. I need to go through me to get to anything. That's good.
Awesome. All right. Well,
yeah.
Twashi, thank you so much. And I hope this was helpful. And yeah, but yeah, absolutely. If you want to practice, you can let me know. I'd be happy to, just DM me. That'd be fine. But anyway, thank you guys. Thanks for sticking around for this late edition of Don't Worry Wednesday. You guys are great.
Yeah.
In chat and everything. We appreciate you guys so much. You just send me a pigeon. Okay.
Oh wow.
If it poops on me, you're getting I'm gonna
write you up. He's gonna write you up.
I'm gonna DM you.
Oh. And by DM he means Dungeon Master.
Dungeon Master. Yes. That's it. All right. Well, you guys, thank you for being here. If you have any topics, go to you're not gonna read that. If you have any topics, go to don'tworrywednesday.com and fill it out, and we'd be happy to do your topic. And yeah, so thank you guys for being here, and we'll see you guys next week. We should be back at the 8:00 time next week. It should be.
Yeah, and thank you for the topics, guys.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. Yeah, and so we'll see you guys next week on Don't Worry Wednesday. Until then, take great care of yourselves and the people around you, and we'll see you next week on Don't Worry Wednesday. We love you guys.
Love y'all. Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Peace.